This is nitrified, not Netflix.
This is a true paranormal horror story. I had just returned from an unforgettable tour of Thailand. The vibrant markets, bustling streets, and warm smiles had left a lasting impression on me. One of my favorite activities was shopping in the night markets, where I found all sorts of unique items at incredibly cheap prices. My suitcase was filled with trinkets, clothes, and souvenirs that I couldn't wait to use and share with my family. Back in the States, I unpacked my suitcase, excited to show my new finds to my parents and younger brother. Little did I know, one of those items was about to bring more than just a new look into our lives. At first, everything seemed normal. My parents liked the decorative items I'd brought home. We all enjoyed the different souvenirs and clothes I had bought, amazed by the unique things I found in the busy night markets. But then, strange things started happening. It began with small, almost unnoticeable occurrences. I would find items in my room moved from their usual places. Sometimes I'd wake up to find my bedroom window open, even though I was sure I had closed it before bed. One night, I woke up to the sound of soft whispering. Groggy and disoriented, I brushed it off as my imagination. But the whispers persisted, growing louder each night. My younger brother began having nightmares and would wake up screaming, claiming he heard someone speaking a foreign language in his room. My mom started hearing the fridge door opening late at night, but when she checked, no one was there. Objects began to move on their own, and we all felt a constant sense of being watched. As the days passed, the disturbances became more intense. Lights flickered, doors slammed shut, and the whispers turned into mournful cries. The feeling of dread hung over our home like a dark cloud. My parents noticed the dark circles under my eyes and my brother's frightened behavior, but none of us could explain what was happening. One night, I was jolted awake by a loud banging on my wardrobe. I stared in horror as a shadowy figure of a woman stood in front of it. The room was cold, and I could see my breath in the air. The shadow slowly turned towards me, and in that moment, it let out a chilling scream and disappeared into thin air. I bolted upright in bed, my heart racing. The temperature in the room dropped sharply, and a cold draft swept through, making me shiver. It was then that we knew we needed help. Desperate and terrified, my parents and I reached out to a local spiritual medium, hoping he could provide some answers. The medium, an elderly man with kind eyes and a calm presence, listened patiently as we recounted the strange events. He asked us to bring all the items I had bought from Thailand, believing that one of them might be the source of the disturbances. We gathered my purchases and laid them out before him. He examined each item carefully, his face growing more concerned. Finally, he picked up a pair of rugged denim shorts, which I bought for only $1, his expression grave. "These shorts carry a heavy sadness," he said. "They were worn by a young girl during a tragic accident. She has followed you here, unable to move on." He tried to communicate with the spirit, but the language barrier made it impossible. After several attempts, he suggested that the only way to free ourselves from the haunting presence was to burn the shorts and release the spirit. That night, with the medium's guidance, we built a small fire in our backyard. As the flames grew, we hesitated for a moment, feeling a strange connection to the tragic soul. But we knew what had to be done. With a deep breath, I threw the shorts into the fire. The flames crackled and hissed. Then we collected the ashes into a container. To keep the spirit from returning, the medium advised us to bury the container in a forest, away from our home. We found a secluded spot in the woods and buried the ashes deep in the ground, hoping it would bring peace to the restless spirit. However, the disturbances didn't stop. The whispers returned, more mournful than ever, and objects continued to move around the house. The oppressive presence lingered, and we felt more helpless each day. In a final attempt to end the haunting, the medium suggested we take the ashes back to Thailand and consult a monk, hoping the spirit could find peace in its homeland. We agreed, and our family booked flights back to Thailand, carrying the ashes with us. When we arrived, we visited a revered monk in a temple. He listened to our story and agreed to perform a traditional ceremony to honor the spirit and help it move on. The ceremony was solemn and profound, filled with prayers and rituals that we didn't fully understand, but felt deeply moved by. After the ceremony, we felt a profound sense of relief. The monk assured us that the spirit had been guided to peace. When we returned home, the disturbances had finally ceased, and the heavy atmosphere lifted from our home. Some spirits, it seems, can only find peace when they return to where they belong. And for this lost soul, the journey back to Thailand was the key to her rest. It makes one wonder, do people really resell items from the deceased?